Although Xiao was still tens of millions of miles away from the ancient void dragon tribe, he could already feel the dragon might coming from the distance. That terrifying dragon aura was far beyond anything the current ancient void dragon tribe of the Duchi continent could compare to. If you enjoy my way of explaining and storytelling, please consider supporting us through the donation. It really motivates us to keep creating. Continuing from the previous chapter, the heavenly python ancestor gazed at Xiao and Kai Lin for a long moment before slowly letting out a deep, weary sigh. His ancient eyes, filled with the weight of countless years, carried both nostalgia and sorrow. The Daoqi world has truly declined to such an extent. His voice was low, almost murmuring, yet every word carried an indescribable heaviness. Even Dozong experts can now manipulate the power of space, and Daosheng experts are capable of dominating the entire Daoqi continent. A trace of helplessness appeared in his expression. In the ancient era of the Daoqi world, the laws of power had been far more absolute. To merely shake the fabric of space required the strength of a Dozun expert. Traversing space, freely moving between distant regions with a single step, was an ability possessed only by Du Sheng. And as for opening an entirely new spatial domain, that had once been the divine authority of a Du Di. Yet now even Du Sheng experts could accomplish such feats. The change was undeniable. The decline of the Daoqi world was not simply a rumor or speculation, it was a harsh and undeniable reality. The heavenly python ancestor slowly lifted his gaze toward the distant sky, his eyes reflecting memories from an era long buried by time. It seemed that Xiao had been correct all along. The present Daoqi continent was no longer the supreme supergrade plane it once had been. It had already fallen, reduced to nothing more than a high-level plane. After a brief silence, the heavenly python ancestor lowered his gaze once again and looked calmly at Xiao. I have already told you everything that I know, and everything that I experienced. His voice was steady, yet there was a faint exhaustion hidden beneath it. Although I do not know what the Dragon Emperor ultimately did to the Daoqi continent after we escaped, I believe his actions were meant to protect it. A faint glimmer of respect appeared in his eyes, and judging from the fact that the continent has remained intact and peaceful until this day, it seems his efforts were not in vain. Hearing these words, Xiao slowly took a deep breath. The information he had just received was far beyond what he had expected. Countless thoughts raced through his mind, weaving together pieces of a forgotten history. After pondering for a moment, he finally raised his head again. "Senior, there is still one question that I wish to ask." The heavenly python ancestor nodded slightly. "Ask." Xiao hesitated briefly before speaking, his expression turning somewhat serious. "I can clearly feel it. Both this body of yours and your divine soul, they will not last much longer." His voice lowered slightly. "What exactly happened to you?" For a moment the space around them seemed to grow quiet. The heavenly python ancestor remained silent, his ancient gaze deep and unfathomable, as if he were looking through time itself. Xiao frowned slightly as he tried to process the vast amount of ancient history he had just heard. After a moment of contemplation, he looked toward the heavenly python ancestor and spoke again. "Senior, according to what you just said, the ancient Daoqi world once consisted of 10 continents, and among them, the largest one was the Daoqi continent, correct?" The heavenly python ancestor slowly nodded. "That is correct." His voice was calm, but it carried the authority of someone who had personally witnessed that distant era. Among the 10 great continents of the ancient Daoqi world, the Daoqi continent was indeed the largest and most prosperous. It was the central land where countless powerful clans gathered and where the strongest experts were born. He paused briefly before continuing. However, aside from the Daoqi continent, the second largest continent at that time was known as the devouring spirit continent. When mentioning this name, a faint trace of seriousness appeared in his eyes. The ruler of that continent was the devouring spirit clan. They were an extremely terrifying race, and at their peak, they were ranked second among the myriad races of the Daoqi world. Xiao Yan's eyes narrowed slightly. Ranked second among the myriad races, such a title alone was enough to prove how overwhelmingly powerful that clan must have been. But the heavenly python ancestor's expression soon turned colder. However, the devouring spirit clan possessed an extremely strange and dangerous bloodline ability. They had the power to devour, not merely energy, but bloodlines, talents, and even the essence of other races. The more they devoured, the stronger they became. Because of this terrifying ability, the devouring spirit clan began to wage war against countless races across the devouring spirit continent. One clan after another fell beneath their invasion, their bloodlines swallowed and assimilated. Their strength grew at an astonishing speed. In a short period of time, they swept across the entire devouring spirit continent and became its absolute rulers. Xiao Yan's expression gradually became solemn. He could already guess what happened next. The heavenly python ancestor slowly continued. Their endless devouring eventually terrified the entire Du-Chi world. If they were allowed to continue growing, no race would be able to stop them. At that time, the Dragon Emperor personally issued a summons to the myriad races. A grand alliance was formed. The most powerful clans and races from the remaining continents all joined forces to destroy the devouring spirit clan. The heavenly python ancestor's voice grew heavier as he spoke. That war was one of the most terrifying battles in the entire history of the Du-Chi world. More than 100 Du-Di experts personally participated in that battle. Xiao Yan's pupils shrank violently. Over 100 Du-Di, even imagining such a scene made his heart tremble. The heavenly python ancestor slowly exhaled. The battle was so catastrophic that the very heavens and earth were torn apart. Space collapsed, continents shattered, and the laws of the world themselves were nearly destroyed. In the end, the devouring spirit clan was completely annihilated. But the price paid was unimaginable. The devouring spirit continent was directly destroyed during that war. Silence filled the space for a moment. The heavenly python ancestor continued quietly. From that day onward, the Du-Chi world lost one of its great continents. What once were 10 continents became only 9. Xiao Yan remained silent, but his expression had grown extremely serious. In the ancient records he had seen before, there were vague mentions of a terrifying race known as the Devouring Spirit Clan. It was said that they possessed a mysterious power hidden within their bloodline, an ability that allowed them to devour other races and seize their strength. Because of this horrifying ability, they eventually became enemies of the entire world. And in the end, they were jointly exterminated by countless ancient clans working together. Xiao Yan had already heard fragments of this ancient history before. Back when he attended the Grand Pill Gathering of the Pill Tower, the terrifying void-swallowing flame had once attempted to devour the bloodline of the Yao clan. At that time, Xiao Yan had witnessed firsthand the horrifying nature of such power. The ability to devour the bloodlines of other races and transform them into one's own strength. It was simply unbelievable. Such a power defied common sense and the natural laws of cultivation. If allowed to grow without restraint, a race possessing such an ability could easily become an unstoppable nightmare for the entire world. Taking a slow breath, Xiao Yan raised his head and looked toward the heavenly python ancestor. Senior, to be honest with you. His tone became serious. The Du-Chi continent today is far smaller than what you described. The heavenly python ancestor slightly narrowed his eyes. How small? Xiao Yan hesitated for a moment before answering. Even the entire Du-Chi continent is only about 1 million miles across. The moment those words were spoken, silence filled the surroundings. At this moment, Xiao Yan himself felt extremely conflicted. For many years he had lived and cultivated on the Du-Chi continent. Everything he knew, every place he had visited, and every legend he had heard, all came from this world. Yet now, the ancient history described by the heavenly python ancestor painted an entirely different picture. Which one was the truth? The continent before his eyes, or the vast unimaginable world that existed in ancient times? A question that had troubled Xiao Yan for a long time slowly resurfaced in his mind. In the ancient era, countless Dao experts had fought world-shaking battles. Their power could destroy space-collapse mountains and tear apart the very fabric of reality. So how could a continent, only 1 million miles wide, possibly withstand battles of such magnitude? If what the heavenly python ancestor said was true, then the Doqi continent that existed today might not even be 1% of its original size. Where had the remaining land gone? Where had the other hundreds of times its original territory disappeared to? Had it been destroyed? Or had it been sealed away? Or perhaps it had been transformed into something else entirely? When the heavenly python ancestor heard Xiaoyan's explanation, even his ancient and composed expression changed. Shock appeared clearly in his eyes. What? The Dao continent has shrunk. His voice rose slightly, unable to hide his disbelief. Xiaoyan slowly nodded. It seems that even Senior does not know the reason behind this change. He paused briefly before continuing. However, judging from the current stability of the Doqi continent, if more than 4 Dodi experts were to fight at full power, the entire plane would likely shatter completely. The heavenly python ancestor fell silent. His gaze gradually turned complicated. He slowly lifted his head and stared into the distant void, as if trying to search through memories buried deep within countless years. What exactly did that dragon emperor do in the end? His voice was low and filled with confusion. Then he slowly turned his gaze back toward Xiaoyan and Kai Lin. The disbelief in his eyes had not faded, because what Xiaoyan had just told him was something even he had never imagined possible. Senior, please don't worry. Xiaoyan spoke slowly, his voice calm yet filled with quiet determination. Even if this mystery is never fully explained, I will investigate it myself. His gaze was steady, carrying the resolve of someone who had already made up his mind. Now the overall outline of events is already clear. What remains unknown is only one final piece of the puzzle. He paused briefly before continuing. What exactly did the Dragon Emperor do to the Doqi continent in the end? Those words hung in the air for a moment. Then Xiaoyan slowly lifted his head and looked toward the distant sky. His eyes seemed to pierce through space itself, as if trying to glimpse the truth buried within ancient history. Perhaps, he murmured softly, I need to visit a certain place. Before he could say anything more, Kai Lin, who had been quietly standing beside him, spoke. You're planning to go to the ancient Void Dragon tribe on the Ruins continent, aren't you? Her beautiful eyes glanced toward Xiaoyan. If that's the case, I'll go with you. However, Xiaoyan gently shook his head. There's no need. His tone was gentle but firm. You should remain here for the time being. He then glanced toward the Heavenly Python ancestor. Senior Heavenly Python likely still has a bloodline inheritance to pass on to you. To rush away now might cause you to miss an important opportunity. But just as those words left his mouth, the Heavenly Python ancestor suddenly spoke. I believe we should all go to the ancient Void Dragon tribe together. Both Xiaoyan and Kai Lin turned to look at him. The Heavenly Python ancestor continued calmly. The inheritance space I created has already collapsed. After so many years, the structure of that small world has become unstable. If we attempt to conduct the inheritance here, it may not be safe. His ancient gaze became slightly solemn. The power of bloodline inheritance is extremely sensitive. If spatial turbulence interferes, it could cause unpredictable consequences. Therefore, it would be far safer to complete the inheritance elsewhere. Xiaoyan thought about it for a moment before slowly nodding. That makes sense. In that case, let us depart together. The Heavenly Python ancestor slowly rose to his feet. After the collapse of the small spatial world, the demon-suppressing formation he had once personally set up had already been destroyed by the violent spatial turbulence. However, at the very center of that shattered domain, the massive ancient skeleton still remained standing. Although parts of it had been damaged by the collapse of space, the majority of the enormous bones were still intact. The colossal skeleton towered like a silent monument, radiating an ancient and desolate aura. It was the final remnant of a powerful being that had once shaken the Doqi world countless years ago. Before them lay the enormous skeleton of a gigantic python, stretching across the shattered space like an ancient mountain range. Its body alone was tens of thousands of meters long, each bone thicker than a fortress wall. Even in death, it still radiated a terrifying aura that made the surrounding space tremble faintly. In the past, the entire skeleton had been blackened and corrupted by demonic energy, the result of countless years of erosion from the demon-suppressing formation and the lingering evil forces sealed within this place. But now, the darkness slowly faded. From within the ancient bones, a soft, nine-colored radiance gradually began to shine. Red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, blue, purple, silver, and gold. 9 brilliant lights intertwined together, forming a mysterious glow that illuminated the broken spatial domain. This was no ordinary skeleton. It was the true body of the heavenly python ancestor. Even after countless years, the bloodline power hidden within the bones had not completely dissipated. The heavenly python ancestor raised his sleeve calmly and waved it lightly. In the next moment, the gigantic skeleton that once stretched across the sky began shrinking rapidly. The mountain-sized bones compressed smaller and smaller, transforming into streams of radiant light that flew toward the heavenly python ancestor. Within only a few breaths, the entire skeleton had condensed into a beam of 9-colored light and merged back into his body. A faint aura of ancient power rippled around him. Then the heavenly python ancestor spoke calmly. "Let's go." Without hesitation, Xiao was the first to rise into the air. His figure shot upward like a streak of light. Above the sky, the fabric of space suddenly twisted and distorted, forming layers of rippling spatial waves. The surrounding void cracked open like the surface of water being torn apart. The three figures stepped directly into the distorted space. This was spatial traversal, a technique somewhat similar to spatial gateways, but far more advanced. It was an ability possessed by Earth's supreme experts. Unlike ordinary spatial tunnels that required time and preparation to construct, spatial traversal was far more direct. It required no complicated formation and no long preparation, only a single movement, and space itself would open. Once inside the turbulent spatial current, the cultivator could travel through unimaginable distances. Even a journey of hundreds of millions of miles could be completed within just a few days. As the three entered the twisted void, their figures gradually faded, disappearing completely within the distorted layers of space. The sky returned to silence. Moments later, far away from their original location, the void suddenly rippled once again. A crack appeared in space like a thin scar torn across the sky. The three figures stepped out. They had already traveled 100,000 miles in a single jump. Their destination was the ancient Void Dragon tribe. This legendary clan resided in the western region of the Ruins continent. That region contained a vast and ancient territory spanning tens of millions of miles. It was known as the Ancient Dragon Domain. The land was ruled entirely by the ancient Void Dragon tribe, and almost no outsiders dared to approach it. At this moment, on the border between the western and southern regions of the Ruins continent, the sky suddenly trembled. Space twisted violently once again. The twisted space slowly calmed as three figures stepped out of the spatial distortion. It was Xiao and the heavenly python ancestor. The ripples in the sky gradually faded, leaving only the vast heavens stretching endlessly before them. Xiao stood quietly in the air and looked toward the distant horizon. Although the ancient Void Dragon tribe was still tens of millions of miles away, his powerful perception could already sense something extraordinary. From the distant sky, a terrifying dragon aura spread across the heavens like an invisible tide. It was vast, ancient, and overwhelmingly majestic. The aura carried the oppressive might of a supreme dragon race, causing even the surrounding space to tremble faintly. Xiao narrowed his eyes slightly. This dragon aura was far more powerful than anything he had ever sensed from the ancient Void Dragon tribe back on the Doki continent. The difference was not small. It was like comparing a raging ocean to a flowing river. The dragons here were on an entirely different level. After observing the direction for a moment, Xiaoyan calmly estimated the distance. At our current speed, he spoke slowly, we should reach the ancient dragon domain in about half a day. The heavenly python ancestor did not immediately respond. Instead, he lifted his head slightly and carefully observed the sky, as if sensing the deeper essence hidden within that dragon aura. After a long moment, he spoke thoughtfully. It seems the rumors from ancient times were true. Xiaoyan and Kailin both turned toward him. The heavenly python ancestor continued. In the past, the ancient void dragon bloodline once faced the danger of extinction. It was only because of the protection of the true dragon clan that they were able to survive and preserve their lineage. His eyes narrowed slightly as he sensed the distant aura again. However, the current ancient void dragon tribe appears to be somewhat different from what I remember. There is another aura mixed within their bloodline. It seems they have fused with the true dragon bloodline. Xiaoyan's expression became slightly serious. Bloodline fusion between two supreme dragon races was no small matter. Such a transformation could drastically alter the strength and potential of an entire race. At that moment, Kailin also spoke calmly. Then let's go. Her tone was steady and confident. If they still carry a Dudi bloodline within them, even if it isn't the exact same bloodline as ours, there should still be a resonance. She placed a hand lightly over her chest. The Dodi bloodline within us should be able to sense it. Xiao nodded. If the ancient void dragon tribe truly possessed remnants of a Dao-Di bloodline, then this journey might reveal far more than they had expected. Perhaps even the truth behind the Dragon Emperor and the ancient secrets of the Do-Chi world. Without wasting another moment, the three figures stepped forward once again. The sky twisted, and they disappeared into the flowing currents of space, heading straight toward the mysterious ancient dragon domain far beyond the horizon. After all, we are the people they have been searching for more than 10,000 years. Kailin's voice was calm, but the meaning behind her words was profound. Xiaoyan nodded slightly. He naturally understood what she meant. If the ancient void dragon tribe truly carried remnants of a Dao-Di bloodline, then the appearance of people like them, individuals connected to the ancient lineage, would certainly attract the tribe's attention. Perhaps they had been waiting for this moment for a very long time. Xiaoyan stepped forward, preparing to enter the twisted space once again and continue their journey toward the ancient dragon domain. But just as his foot was about to move, his heart suddenly trembled faintly. The feeling came without warning. It was subtle, yet extremely unsettling. Xiaoyan abruptly stopped. Kailin immediately noticed the change in his expression. "What's wrong?" Her voice carried a hint of concern. Xiaoyan frowned slightly. "I'm not sure." Before he could say anything else, a spiritual seal suddenly flew out from his body. The seal floated in the air and slowly unfolded. A beam of light spread outward, forming a transparent light screen in front of the three of them. Xiaoyan, Kailin, and the heavenly python ancestor all looked toward it. The moment Xiaoyan saw the seal clearly, his expression turned serious. This spiritual seal had been left with Ye Rong of the Yuande sect. Before leaving, Xiaoyan had specifically told her, "Only use this seal in an emergency. Otherwise, it must never be activated," which meant something had happened. Could it be that Yuande sect was in danger? The image within the light screen gradually became clearer. Soon a horrifying scene appeared. A vast mountain range stretched across the screen. But instead of peace and serenity, the entire land was filled with the smell of blood. Crimson stains covered the mountains and valleys. The echoes of screams and cries reverberated endlessly through the air. A figure suddenly flew across the sky. Xiaoyan focused his gaze. Soon he could see clearly. It was a middle-aged man wearing a purple robe. The aura surrounding his body was extremely powerful. Without a doubt, he had already stepped into the realm of an Earth Supreme. Behind him lay a blood-soaked plain. On that plain stood a massive spatial prison, more than 100 meters wide. Layers of distorted space formed invisible walls that completely sealed off the area. Inside the prison, thousands of people were trapped. Many of them were injured and covered in blood. Among the prisoners were several young faces that Xiao immediately recognized. One of them was Ye Tianlian, the young man Xiao had once saved before. However, what caused Xiao pupils to suddenly shrink were the two figures standing in front of the prisoners, a man dressed in white and a small girl. The girl was Ye Rong. At this moment, the purple-robed man stood calmly in the air with his hands behind his back, looking down at the prisoners like a ruler judging the lives of insects. In his hand appeared the spiritual seal Xiao had given Ye Rong. He stared directly at the light screen. Then, with a sudden squeeze of his fingers, he crushed the seal. A cold, mocking laugh echoed through the screen. "You're Xiao, right?" His voice was filled with arrogance and cruelty. Then he spoke slowly, each word like a blade. "I'll give you 3 days. If you do not appear..." He glanced toward the thousands of prisoners behind him. A cruel smile spread across his face. "I will kill 300 people every hour." The next moment, the screen suddenly went dark. The light screen shattered into particles and disappeared into the air. Silence fell around Xiao, but the temperature of the surrounding space seemed to drop drastically. An invisible killing intent began to slowly spread from Xiao body. If you loved this story, please consider supporting us through the donation link below. Your support allows us to keep bringing you the best and most immersive video. We truly appreciate you being here with us.